just got done finalizing the whole chicken coop and getting the chicks out of their brooder and getting everything ready. So we're pretty much in full swing now with our birds, and we have 70 turkeys and 48 chickens, I believe. And we'll go check the turkeys out first. I just figured I'd make a video over pretty much my whole setup, since I've just about got the whole thing done now, and that's some trash that I took out of the chicken coop, I mean. But here is my turkeys. Shut the fan off. It's just a barn. I would say it's probably about 22 by 10, and it holds 80 birds really easily. But I just put this water in. It's my first time using it. I really like it so far, though. It makes a whole pool of water down there, and it stays relatively clean. So I like it so far a lot, actually. It's an 8-gallon water. The only thing that sucks is you need a hose. I mean, you don't need it, but it helps a lot to have a hose. But I really like bucket waters. Those are like my favorite, just because they have a pool in the bottom of them. Just like on a hot day, would you rather drink out of a straw or would you rather drink out of a cup? And a cup, obviously. So, but that's why I like those more. I think they just distribute water way better to the turkeys and gives them a lot more available at once. I have these 2 feeders. They come from a big turkey breeder out here, and they shut down and they got rid of a bunch of them. So I got them. They're super old, but they work great. Just 2 of them in here to feed them. They hold about 75 pounds of feed each, or not each, but 75 pounds of feed total. But yeah, so 80 turkeys, and then these were all sitting in the chicken coop outside of the brooder, and I just threw them in here because they'll go through them pretty quick, and the worst that'll happen is they'll just poop on them, and we'll get over that. So, but yeah, I have just roosts on the side, and they obviously fill those up pretty quick, so a lot of them will just sit on the ground, but hopefully within the next few years they'll be expanding quite a bit. And I have a fan I got from just a local factory that was doing some remodeling, and they got rid of 2 fans. So I have one over there that's not hung up yet, and then this one, what I've had here for I think 2 years. And I ran electricity out here and plumbing, but yeah, I just dug a trench, and I have one light, or I have 2 lights, one right there, and then this one, and that's what the first switch controls. And then the second switch controls my plugins, which I have one over there, and then one right here for the fan. And I also switch it out for the extension cord that runs down there, and I have 3 heat lamps I can plug in. So that's what I use the second one for, so turn the fan back on. Also, I don't know if I showed you, but I do have a window down there that I just use as my door to let the turkeys out into the pasture. And then we'll go around, show the pasture really quick. So here's the turkeys, or the rest of them at least. And that was the old pasture when I first started. I started in this coop with I think 17 birds my first year. And I had it was like an old greenhouse enclosure that I bought, or that my grandparents had, and they gave it to me, but just enclosed it with metal and plastic fencing, and it worked really well because I raised a heritage breed the first year, so they could fly a lot better than these birds. But even then, they still didn't really fly. I used that for I think 2 years, and then that's when I filled in this pasture and expanded the coop. But here's the rest of them, and all it is just, I didn't weed eat this year because I honestly think that having the weeds around the edge helps a lot. I think they really like burrowing up in them, and I see them out here a lot where they just kind of nuzzle up against the edge. So I'm kind of happy with how it's working out so far. Usually I spray all that like 2 months before, and then I just keep up with weed eating it. But yeah, just to block off the hill, I just use whatever this stuff is called. I can't even think of it right now, but like lattice or something. And then usually I use those pools, and I put sand in them, so whenever it gets super hot, these birds can, sand bathe. And I planted that tree. It hasn't shown a whole lot of growth yet, but hopefully it'll blossom out. But yeah, I got 2 waterers out here. One of them's kind of hidden by this little tree that's growing, and then this one, they're both I put some lag bolts in, and that's what they're hung onto these poles, and they work great. They're great for out here. They're just bucket waters, and the turkeys love them. They go through them like plenty. Most of the time when it's really hot, I'll fill both of them up twice a day. When it's really hot, I fill all my waters up twice a day at least. And here's a ramp I built. I just put, 1x1s on here, and that way they can climb up it a lot easier. Even though for some reason, this batch just sucks at climbing up the ramp. Like they will not go inside, no matter how hard you try to get them to go inside, and it's really annoying. So you just pick them up and put them inside. But I have that so they don't jump out because the fence is right there, but that just prevents them from, just hopping off. But yeah, here's the window setup and the coop that I showed you earlier. And that's pretty much all for the pasture. It's just a good amount of grass. Usually they'll clear all of this out by November. It'll be just straight dirt. They clean it up really nicely. And I'll have to pull that tree out since it's growing through the lattice down there. But yeah, so there's the turkeys, and we'll walk over here to the chickens. I've been raising turkeys here for 6 years, and it's gone really well. I really like raising them, and really just poultry. I think the birds are awesome. I will say I think chickens are way more fun, just because they're just more active. They're chicken scratches and everything. I don't know. The chickens are just so much more fun. But yeah, so here's the chicken coop. Pretty much the same setup. I ran electricity. It's got one light just right above the door. I don't need more in here. And then the other light turns on. The other light switch turns on that plug-in and works great for heat lamps and everything else. But I've got 48 chickens right now, and they all look really good. I just put that water in here, so I've never used one of these waters before. Looks like they really like it though. I don't like these as much just because I feel like they don't have as much available water. I would much prefer bucket water, but what I had in here before was a metal one, and it just went to shit, so we got rid of that. I don't like the metal ones. They rust out and they bend. But yeah, and then I have another one of these bucket ones in here. I like these a lot just because they have their little replaceable cups, and that way every year if the turkeys break them, a lot of times we'll actually find these these little yellow things. We'll find them in the gizzards of our birds, which is really interesting to think that they eat those things whole, but they do, and it's neat. But yeah, and then I've got 2 feeders, 2 waters and 2 feeders. So this feeder we've had for a few years, and it works pretty well. It's just I don't know how big I think it's a 30 pound, but it works good. You just fill it up, you just got to shake it down, and then it goes down into that trough and works well. It keeps the feed clean. And then bucket feeder over here, this one. I just like bucket everything, honestly. If I had to choose, I would do everything all day, every week, buckets. But yeah, and then here's the rest of my mess. That's hopefully next year we'll have a little yard barn out here that I can throw everything in. But here's the fan. Last year that was outside for the turkeys, but I think I'm gonna hang it up right in here today and have these guys plenty of airflow. And then I just keep my feed just in bags. And this is just the starter feed. After we get past the starter feed, we mix our own with our own corn and all that. So I'll make a video on that too. And then in there is just storage for both. Actually, this one will be used for feed too, but that one's storage. It has all my baby waters, some of my heat lamp bulbs, and just every miscellaneous stuff I use for these. This was the old roost for the turkeys back when they were in here, and we just use it kind of as storage now. We just put some boards across and just use it, store a bunch of stuff up there. Here's the old door where the turkeys used to go in and out of into their pasture. So it's neat looking back at how far it's grown. And yeah, so here soon I'll be doing a water review just on all the waters I use and which one I think works the best. And obviously I'm a little biased for bucket ones, but I'll be doing it off of a few points, so stay tuned for that. But that's about all I have for this video. And if you're interested in following along in farming and smoky meats and really just the whole journey of livestock, just follow for more.